Welcome, welcome, welcome. Seems like I have been gone forever, which I really have. But I'll fill you guys. I ain't gonna fill you in on every detail because you don't want to hear every detail. But we had the Friday that you didn't have school with teachers meetings, and I got sick that day, and I got sick in the fact that I couldn't hold down any food. Everything I ate came back up. I had problems going out the other end, go to the bathroom and be like a windmill spinning around because I didn't know which end I needed to use. And that continued for a week. I didn't eat anything for a week because I had just shooting out both ends. It was a terrible, terrible virus I had. So I was absolutely miserable. And then on Friday, it finally subsided. I was able to hold down a little food on Friday. Saturday was a little better. I actually ate some real food on Saturday, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting better. We're gonna make it. We're doing good. And then Saturday night, I went to bed, and I had the worst coughing fit. Now I've been coughing. You guys know I've been coughing for months, and it wakes me up a lot during the night. I cough a lot during the night, but I had a coughing fit Saturday like I've never had during the night. That it just was constant. I couldn't stop coughing, couldn't stop. It went like 15, 30 minutes. I don't know. It was dark. I have no idea, no concept of time. But I finally got it to stop, got a drink, lay down, and then when I woke up, I'd been asleep 15 hours. I couldn't believe it. 15 hours. And I had swelling in my head, and I'm now deaf in both ears from all the coughing. I don't know what happened, but it's caused swelling inside my head. And I can't hear out of my good ear. Totally deaf. That's why I put on my headphones just to test it, and I can't hear the chimes when you guys come in. So I've got it back here on my cochlear implant, so I can hear a little bit. But trust me, if you want to communicate with me, use the chat because I don't think I'm going to be able to understand anything. I do have a CT scan today of my head. They're supposed to look at my head today and try to figure out what's going on with all this coughing and mucus and hopefully swelling. And it has been rough. And I tell you, when you're deaf in both ears, it's very lonely, even when you're with people. So that's what I'm facing right now. After being sick for a week where I couldn't even eat food, finally got over that. And now I've had this coughing fit that has caused the deafness. So I'm hoping nothing is permanently damaged, but at this point, we don't know. But welcome to class. We got 17 of us, missing 7. Fortunately, that won't stop us in here. We can continue on. We're going to get things done today. And we're going to try to forward on. Now, if you looked at your grade this morning, which I just did this like 5 or 10 minutes ago because I haven't touched my computer when I was homesick. I didn't feel like doing any schoolwork. So I haven't graded. If you turn stuff in the last week and a half, it has not been graded, anything. That last program, 6.03, I said, if you do that program, I made it optional. If you do it, I will replace your lowest programming grade. So if you get like a 90 on this program and somewhere earlier you had a 60, I'll wipe out the 60 and give you this 90 instead. So I see some of you have turned it in, and I'll look at it. Those of you who have not turned it in, I've gone into Buzz and told it, don't count it. Just skip this. Don't give them a 0. Don't give a 0 on that because they didn't have to do it. So I just changed that this morning. So if you haven't looked at your grade this morning, your grade should have got a little boost if you have not turned in 6.03. If you have turned in 6.03, nothing's changed in your grade because it's just sitting there waiting to be graded. And then when I grade it, I'll figure out, is it higher than another program, and I will replace it. If it's not higher than another program, then I just won't count it. So I guess 6.03 was optional and will replace your lowest programming grade of this semester. So, And you still can turn it in, even though I've gone into Buzz and says don't count it against them. If you want to turn it in Google Classroom and email me, you got to let me know, because Buzz won't accept it now, because I've already told it don't count it. You don't have to do it. If you turn it in Google Classroom, be sure and email me and say, hey, Mr. Brock, I did turn it in Google Classroom. If you'll look at it, please. And then I'll go look at it and see if it's higher than any of your other programming grades. But I've got, it says 92 things to grade in Buzz. So it's going to take me a little while. If I'm out a week and a half, I'm not going to catch up quickly. It's going to take some time for me to get caught up with all the grading that I'm behind now after being out the whole last week. So I'll get there, guys. I'll get there. So, all right, let's take a look. If I remember how to do this, like I say, I feel like I've been gone forever, and not in a good way. I just stayed in bed most of the time and it was miserable. Miserable. Programming. Let's go to look. Okay. Notice I have not done last week's assignment because I didn't do nothing last week. So I'm behind a week, but we are on 7.02 intrusion. So hopefully you guys were able to go through this lesson last week. Had no problems. I saw a lot of people have this turned in with 100%. I think it gives you, that doesn't tell you how many times you can try it there. We can go look at it though. But we're going to look at 7.02. Look at 7.01 to see how many attempts you had at it. Close module 6. Open our last module. Oh, it just says 1 attempt. If it only has 1 attempt, I'm going to change it to 3. So let's look at the 7.02 intrusion lesson. I say this last module is about maintaining cybersecurity here. Intruder alert. So any sort of forcible or illegal activity on a digital network is considered an intrusion. These unauthorized activities almost always jeopardize the safety of a network and sensitive data. Intruder attacks can range from mild to serious, and some attackers just like the thrill of accessing a secured system, while others intend to access, steal, and disrupt. So here's some common examples of intrusions. Website defacement. You hear of this every once in a while in the news. An attack on a website that changes its visual appearance. Usually it's some activist group that think they're saving the world by going and messing up somebody's website. Usually it just makes them look like idiots, and people are like, once you spend some time doing something good and actually helping things rather than just trying to destroy other things. Unauthorized access. Visiting an unattended logged in workstation without permission. So that's where you're actually, like, if somebody was in the school here and a teacher walked away and somebody else sat down at their desk and started using their computer, that's unauthorized access. An unattended logged in workstation. Data exfiltration. You hear about infiltration, but exfiltration is pulling information out, copying a database, like copy a database containing credit card numbers or other sensitive information. That's an example of data exfiltration. A data breach, viewing sensitive data, including like payroll records and medical information without authorization. That's considered a data breach. Packet sniffing. So information is sit in packets on computers. And so there's something called a packet sniffer. You could run a packet sniffer on a network to capture unencrypted sensitive data. And it'll read what's in these packets of data being sent. War dialing. So dialing into an unsecured modem and gaining internal network access. You get a number for a modem that's connected into a network and you're able to access it that way. Phishing, you've probably heard of this with a PH. Posing as an executive, calling the help desk, resetting the executive's email password using a new password. I get a lot of emails from time to time, like, this is the mayor, I need you to do this or whatever. And, phishing, trying to get information, acting like there's somebody that they're not. And then password cracking, attempting to gain unauthorized access using common passwords or algorithms to guess passwords. That's why our passwords keep getting more and more and more intense, because computers are getting faster and faster at cracking them. So now we got to have like 8 characters. You know, it used to be you had to have 5 characters, and now you have to have 8 characters. And you got to have a capital letter, a lowercase letter, a special character, all these different things. It keeps getting more and more requirements on password cracking because of the password cracking here. All right, there's 3 types of intruders primarily. So anyone who accesses a computer or network without permission is an intruder. Not all intruders are the same, and not all intruders are considered hackers. There's 3 different types, and they can all wreak havoc in an instant. So one is a masquerader. A masquerader does not have authorized computer access, but penetrates a system's controls to exploit a legitimate user's account. So they're getting in with somebody else's credentials, somebody else's password. For example, if an official user inadvertently leaves a computer open and logged in, a coworker or passerby could act as a masquerade attacker because they sit down at somebody's computer that's actually logged in and likely to be an outsider. Then there's a misfeasor. This is a legitimate user, someone that does have permission to be in your network, who accesses programs, information, or resources for which access is not authorized. So you're getting into stuff that you're not supposed to be able to get into. Or they are an authorized user, but they misuse your access privileges. That's called a misfeasor. And that's generally an insider, someone that is from inside your company or network. And then there's the clandestine user. So a clandestine user seizes control of the system and uses this control to evade audit logs and accesses controls or suppress audit collection. Let's see what an audit log is. Recordings of user actions like a number of failed login attempts. Yeah, any network should have audit logs, so it'll keep track of everybody that logs in, everybody that tries to log in and fails, what password did they try, how many times did they try, all of that. And the clandestine user will get control of the system and delete their information on these audit logs, and you'll never, can't use that to figure out that they got in there. And that could be either an outsider or an insider. All right, let's check this knowledge check to see if what we learned there. Who is someone who's likely an outsider without authorized computer access? Would that be a masquerader, a misfeasor, or a clandestine? Put that in the chat. Which one would likely be someone that's an outsider who should not have authorized computer access? The first one, Sierra says, that would be the masquerader. That's correct. A user who is authorized for access, but misuses their access. So yeah, Braylon and Sierra were on that first one there. Are they doing these in order? Misfeasor. And then a user who seizes control in order to evade auditing. Oh, there's more than 3 answers. Yeah, okay. Could be either an outsider or an insider. Cole says a misfeasor. Oh, and I'm saying clandestine. I'm saying the second one. Got a little back and forth on this one. Let's see. Clandestine says outsider, insider. The misfeasor is generally an insider. Okay, so we're going to go with the clandestine. This is an authentic user who accesses resources for which such access is not authorized. The authentic user. Yeah, the only one that's generally always an insider is the misfeasor. Right? And this will penetrate a system's control to gain access to user accounts. Well, if they're just giving us 2 of each, we're going to say it's the first one. And we did. There we go. Submit. Great work. All right. Good job, guys. Let's see, page 3. How hackers roll. Various names are often used to describe those who can defeat computer systems. Hacker and intruder are both terms for individuals who have the skills to gain unauthorized access to computer systems. However, not all are the same. So not too long ago, hacker was just a neutral term. for a skilled computer user. If you go to the computer and say, "Oh man, you're a hacker, aren't you? Boy, you can really do a lot with the computers. You're good at it." But now hackers taking a different meaning. It's evolved to describing someone that has an intent on illegal or malicious system intrusion. So hacker is no longer necessarily a compliment. And here's some different types of hackers. There are white hat hackers. There's several of them that I follow on Facebook. There's someone on Facebook called Scammer Payback. He's a white hat hacker. He goes by the name Pierogi. He works in cybersecurity, and he deals with a lot of these scammers that call you and try to cheat you out of money. And when they call him and they want him to log into his computer, he reverses the connection and he logs into their computer at the same time. So while they're trying to scam him and do things on his computer, he's deleting files and pulling information off their computer. He's what's known as a white hat hacker. These are considered the good guys of cybersecurity. They're hired to work with organizations to strengthen the security of their systems. A white hat has permission to gain access to restricted networks and computer systems with the intent of finding security flaws. It's important to note that white hat hackers are the only ones who can operate legally and ethically. All others will likely face legal consequences. So let's kind of clarify that, what we're talking about. Companies may hire white hat hackers. Hire a cybersecurity company and said, okay, we would like you to try to break into our system. All right, so they'll sign a contract with the company, and that company has cybersecurity folks. They have hackers, and they're white hat hackers because they're good guys, and they have permission to actually break into the network because the company that hires them is trying to figure out, where's my flaws. I need someone to find my flaws that's not a bad guy. Because once a bad guy finds my flaws, I'm going to have lots of problems because they're going to steal all kinds of information, may ruin my company. So if I can get someone that won't do that, if I can hire someone to do that, then when they break into my system, if they're able to break into the system, they'll say, look, here's how I got in. I used this weakness. I found this that wasn't updated. I was able to slip in here. That way the company can go back and repair those openings to figure out how the company got in. And they're able to make their security stronger. So it's not unusual for large companies to hire white hat hackers. So if you're really good at computers and love hacking, there's a career out there for you. You could actually make a living doing that. So white hat hackers. And you can do it without getting prosecuted by the law, right? Then there's black hat hackers. You kind of figure if there's white hat, there's black hat, right? These types of hackers attempt to gain unauthorized access in the systems or networks for malicious reasons. These are not the good guys. They inflict damage by compromising security systems and altering functions of websites and networks. They're looking to steal and cause chaos. And this kind of comes back to the old cowboy and Western movie days. Generally in the old Westerns, the good guys wore the white hats, the bad guys wore the black hats. It kind of helped you figure out who the good guys were and the bad guys in the old Western movies. Then we have the term gray hat hackers. So sometimes hacking is not just clear whether they're white hat or blue hat. Gray hat hackers try to gain access to networks and computer systems the same way that black hats do, but they're not looking to do something malicious. Their goal is to disclose all the loopholes and vulnerabilities to law enforcement agencies or intelligence agencies. Their hacking is usually done with the intent to protect, but it's still illegal because they did it without permission. They may try to break into somewhere and say, hey, look, I was able to break in your system. Do you want to know how I did it? But still, it's illegal because they didn't have permission to do it. And on rare occasions, gray hats have been known to demand money for finding flaws. Hey, I broke into your network. If you pay me some money, give me $100,000, I'll tell you how. So they can kind of become black hat hackers when they're holding your system for ransom. Then there's blue hat hackers. These are typically out for revenge. They can be malicious, but usually it's directed at one person or one company, and they seek revenge for something they see as a wrong. Blue hats are typically new to hacking. They haven't done hacking before, but they're so mad at this person, they're so mad at this company that they're going to figure out how to hack into their system because they're so mad at them. Did you know a hacktivist? Yeah, that's a word. A hacktivist is someone who uses hacking to bring about political or social change. Hacktivist groups attempt to obtain confidential information to promote usually some political agenda and often target media, financial, or political groups. Hacktivists might attempt to gather and release sensitive information to the public or deface websites. You might have heard of different groups like Anonymous, WikiLeaks, or LOLSec. Anonymous was a well-known hacktivist group made of many individuals that does not have any known central command structure. The group's first widely known operation was an attack against the Church of Scientology in 2008. The mission was to take the organization's website offline and disrupt all their communications. The project was started in response to the Church of Scientology's attempts to remove material from a highly publicized interview with Scientologist Tom Cruise from the internet in January 2008. Church of Scientology was trying to remove a bunch of stuff they thought exposed too many of their secrets, so they were trying to get it off the internet. So this group, became known as Anonymous, decided to get revenge on them and attack the Church of Scientology website. You can read a lot about the group Anonymous online and a lot of stuff that they've done over the years. Then you can judge whether they're good or bad, because some of it may be white hat type, some of it may be black hat type. The cyber kill chain. It sounds like a movie, doesn't it? It's a series of steps that traces the stages of a cyber attack from its early stages to the theft of sensitive data. So the kill chain helps a cybersecurity professional understand and win the battle on ransomware, security breaches, and advanced persistent attacks. So what are these stages? Well, number one, planning and scoping. In this stage, the attacker determines what method should be used to complete the phases of the attacks. So they got to plan their attack. Number two, reconnaissance and discovery. Here, the attacker discovers what there is to know about a target and what security systems in place. Because definitely they're going to try to figure out, if I can figure out what security system you're using, that gives me a better way to get around it. Weaponization. The attacker uses an exploit to gain access. That's code that takes advantage of a software vulnerability or some security flaw. This could take several steps. Post-exploitation, lateral discovery, and spread. The attacker performs a deeper network scan with the intention to discover more information about the network and uses this data to identify the assets of interest. Oh, there's the information I want. Then action on objectives. Here, the attacker uses the access gained to secretly copy the information they're looking for. Then finally, retreat. Once the attackers achieve the initial goal without being detected, they can either maintain an advanced persistent threat, maybe they'll just stay logged in, or they may decide to withdraw from the network. So the attacker generally will try to remove any trace of his or her presence to help prevent attempts to identify the source. They try to cover their tracks where you can't tell who hacked into it. So as you can see, one doesn't just accidentally penetrate a network. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of thought goes into an attack. From planning to intruding to leaving without being detected, attacks are almost always planned and very deliberate. The dark web, you hear that term, right? The internet's actually made of three layers: the surface web that we're on right now, the deep web, and the dark web. So the top layer, known as the surface web, is what we commonly use to access news, our bank account, entertainment, information websites, and these show up on search engines. That's just the surface web. Then there's the deep web. That's the next layer. It contains information that cannot be found using a search engine. These sites are hidden and password protected. For example, online banking. When you log into your bank account and get to that second screen that shows all your transactions and all of that stuff, that is part of the deep web, because you can't just Google search that page and pull that page up. You have to log in to get there. Draft blog posts, corporate virtual private networks, all part of the deep web. Then there's the dark web. This is the deepest layer. which is a network of untraceable activity in the internet that typically requires the use of special software to gain access. Your little normal Google Chrome browser generally will not access the dark web. You get some special software. Navigating the dark web requires direction because everything is hidden. There's no search, there's no anything, there's no links. You got to know where you're going. Yeah, and we're going to get to there's some really good information about the dark web coming up on the bottom of the page. Cyber criminals rely on exchanging information with each other using web pages that are not indexed by search engines. All right, cyber criminals. These type of services provide cyber criminals with methods to securely exchange information and are often used for hiding illegal activity like fraud, extremism, terrorism, black markets. And understanding what these sites are and investigating them is an important source of counterintelligence. That's activities designed to prevent or thwart spying, intelligence gathering, or sabotage by an enemy or other foreign entity. Since the dark web provides anonymity, there you go. Cyber criminals enjoy the ability to share information without the fear of being uncovered. It doesn't track you in the dark web. However, that also allows investigators to more easily infiltrate whenever they discover stolen data, like passwords or other usernames, or newly developed hacking tools that are shared in the dark web. Cybersecurity professionals must continuously monitor security intelligence websites, blogs, and news groups. And these are examples of threat intelligence feed providers. Symantec is one of them. When you click on that, it'll take you to their website. They're called Broadcom now. Symantec Vulnerability Response Guidelines. And gives you how to report a security vulnerability. All kinds of information there. Let's look at dark reading. We won't explore these websites, but they're there. I'm going to go look at them. Taking a while to load this one. Maybe it's pulling it from the dark web. No, I don't think so. This is actually a news site about a lot of stuff going on. It's a newsletter. Things going on from the cybersecurity world. Keep up with the latest cybersecurity threats, newly discovered vulnerabilities, data breach information, emerging trends. You can subscribe to Dark Reading there. It gives you all kinds of information on what's going on in the cybersecurity world with hacking and all kinds of stuff. There's probably more information there than you ever want to read. All right, now let's get to the cool stuff. We're talking about the dark web. The dark web. The dark web was actually created by, take a wild guess, our government. Our government created the dark web. This one down here, where everything's anonymous, they don't know anything. The dark web was created by the U.S. government to allow spies to exchange information anonymously. We needed a way for our spies to be able to send information. No one could ever track, so our government created the dark web. U.S. military researchers developed the technology known as Tor, T-O-R, the Onion Router, in the mid-1990s, and we released it to the public domain for everyone to use. So you know the government is also monitoring the dark web all the time as well, much as they can. So when you hear about the dark web, just remember, that was created by our government. It's like, whoa, and it's used by hackers and everyone all the time. All right, let's look at our assignment. Which type of intruder, which type of intruder, which type of hacker, what stage of the cyber kill chain? Why was the dark web originally created? 5 questions. 5 questions. All right, guys. If you have questions, if you need help with something, please email me. Like I said, I'm way behind on grading things because being gone all last week is really just throwing me for a loop. And remember 6.03, the last program we had, I've gone into Buzz and said, if you didn't do it, don't count it against you because it's optional. But if you did do it, I'll grade it. And if it replaces, it'll replace your worst grade of the semester. Whatever your worst program was, I'll zero it out, won't count it, and I'll count this one instead. if this is better than any of your other programs. If you're still behind on other programs, get caught up on those. This is your time to get your grade caught up because we're not assigning any new programs. So if you need help with any of those, email me, let me know. This week is, I don't have any, I have B Day. That's wrong though, because last week was a B Day. Yeah, that's right. It is an A Day. This A Day, A Day. Okay, guys. Well, that's all we got. So go have a great week. Say, I'll get caught up on grading eventually. These 100 things or whatever you guys turned in while I was out last week. And we will see you later. A Day on Friday if you need to be here. See you Wednesday or Friday or next week.